for joining us. Let's all raise a glass. This is Cocktails with the cast.
Cheers.
My Miz.
Cheers.
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 It is hard to believe that it's been 7 years, 8 years since we did this.
7 years.
2013,
Yep.
we did this right before the 50th anniversary season. And I know I was looking back at the program today and just counting the number of people, and we had 46 people who were involved in this production. We had 4 crew people, 6 orchestra people, 22 ensemble, and then 14 principals in this. And it ran for 4 weeks. It sold out the entire run. I know Cindy and I held our breath every single night to make sure extra worked with the orchestra that we had. But it was, I would say, after Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, this was probably the biggest production Market House Theater ever did on its stage. So I thought we might start out a little bit by talking about some of the music, and I'll put Cindy on the spot a little bit because normally we rehearse for about 6 to 8 weeks for a musical. This one rehearsed for 3 months to get the music. I think we started in, well, it may have been closer to 5 months. We started in late January, early February.
With the auditions.
Right.
And
right.
we had, what was it, 130, 137 people audition? Do you remember?
Close to that. We had people from all over, about 100-mile radius who drove in to audition. We had faculty, professors from different universities from all over, because Market House Theater was the first one to get the rights to do the regional production of it. And it was only available for a short time while the movie was out.
Yeah.
We're going to add a couple more people to this conversation who are joining us.
Hey.
There's Emily.
Hey.
Hi.
Emily. Nick and Tony. Hi, guys.
Hi.
So we were just talking about the music for the show.
Yeah.
So Cindy, why don't you talk about the music a little bit?
Well, just a minute. It was really hard to cast the show because we had so many people, and we could have cast it a couple of times over. But then, you know, you finally settle on one principal or another, and then you kind of build it from around there. So it was difficult to cast, but we were really thrilled with what we ended up with. We just thought we ended up with just a platinum cast. I know I was very nervous on the first night of rehearsal because we had so many talented people that I was very nervous. And I think we rehearsed the finale first, and the wall of sound that came at me in that studio theater was amazing. This took longer to rehearse because the whole thing, it's more like an opera since it's all music. So we had, you know, there was no speaking, so every note had to be learned. So that's why it took so long. But everyone worked so hard that it was a total joy to do it. It really was.
So well, and you talk about that, you talk about that first rehearsal, and I remember it's like everybody walked in and they knew that they were part of something so special. And we all felt the same thing on that first number when we all heard ourselves. Yeah. We were all looking around and amazed. We were very excited.
Yes, and I know that Kathy McCaney had just come on at the theater to do publicity for the 50th anniversary season. And she was out on the street a few nights while we were rehearsing up in the classroom. And she heard the sounds from up there and was just gobsmacked. She just loved it. Could not believe the sounds, but what a sound you all got. It was amazing. And I never will forget, one of my chill moments was at our party at the end, because I had never seen the show. I'd always been playing piano, and there was very little time that I could look up to see what was happening on stage. And we got to the very end, at the finale of the whole show as we were watching the show. And then you all started singing. So it was surround sound. And I mean, I just burst into tears. It was so powerful. I don't know if you all remember that moment, but it was a special one for me to hear it from the screen and then to hear all of you singing as well. It was a joy. You all were fabulous.
It was a challenging show to put on in our little tiny space. Because everybody had seen the big spectacle production of it. And I still have people to this day coming up talking about how Market House production was so different. They had seen it in London, they'd seen it in New York, they had seen it several places, but how the Market House production actually felt like you were right there with all of the actors in that.
Yeah, I had several people that said, same thing, that they had seen professional productions. They said that they understood it for the first time with ours. And I think the fact that it was so intimate and they were so close that they could see the thoughts on our face and they could see the expression of what we meant when we were saying it. And so they walked away and they said, I had several that said that they enjoyed our version better than they did the professional ones.
I think people could hear the words all the way because I remember seeing it at the Fox Theater and you just can't catch all the words unless you've heard the recording several times. Yeah. So when you come to the theater and you can understand every single word, then that makes it so much more about the story than about the spectacle. And so then the intimacy of our theater and experiencing the music and the story together is really, really powerful in a small theater.
I remember trying to do the music rehearsal. And working with several people, trying to break them of the habit of what they had heard recorded, because ours was a different production. It was just who we were doing, and that production that was the Broadway soundtrack was not what we were working on. So that was a real challenge to try to make it our own production. And I know that we had a lot of young talent that was in the show. I know Emily was I think you had just graduated from high school when you did the show.
Yeah, no, I was super young. Let's see, I was about a year out of high school, yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah, or 2 years, yeah. So it was so long ago.
Me too.
I was looking at pictures and Lucas is so young, and even the people in the some of the scenes, when I look at the bar scene, I go, wow, we were all much younger then. We did this.
The hat still fits though.
The hat still fits.
Yeah.
Tony, just tell us what it felt like to be Jean Valjean, to take on that role.
It honestly, it was a dream come true. And I had told you this for years, that I said, if you ever do Les Mis, I don't care if we're singing out on a street corner, I am there. That had always been a dream role. And so as soon as it got announced, pretty much that whole year was all about preparing for Les Mis. So it was just absolutely one of the highest points of my life that I'll never forget. And to share it with Lucas and so many of my closest friends, and it's kind of like I said before, everybody knew the weight of what we were carrying with this show and the importance of the show. Just not only just being a cast member, but just how important it was to the Market House Theater too. To trust us to take on this kind of a show. That it was amazing, just the amount of effort that everybody put into it.
Mm-hmm. And I know, Scott, that was your first show. I had never set eyes on you before, and you walked into audition. And I know Cindy and I were kind of like, who is this guy?
This voice. Oh my gosh, this beautiful voice.
Yeah, I had moved to Paducah probably 3 months before, and was really excited when I saw that Les Mis was one. I wasn't a big theater guy, honestly, and so I knew about 7 or 8 musicals, and Les Mis was one that had a tremendous effect on me when I saw it, and so I was just really excited about it. So yeah, it was great.
And I know, Kim, you didn't expect the role that you got. You were not anticipating that at all.
No, I thought I was too old.
Right.
I thought I was too old. I really did. I was like, what? So I was really thankful. I mean, Les Mis was the first live Broadway show anywhere that I saw in my life was Les Mis. And that is so weird, I know, but I didn't have access to live theater when I was younger. And not even in high school, I sang in choir, but our high school senior choir trip was to New York, and our choir director made us go see this musical nobody ever heard of. We all wanted to go see Cats. We went to see Les Mis. And I remember sitting in that audience, and I never sat back in my seat the whole time. I was just like, what the hell did I just see? So yeah, that was a special role for me, and I'll never forget it, ever.
And Kim, you rocked the haircut.
You
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that was tough. Don't know if I'll ever do that again, Michael. So
And
I remember the night when you came in and said, "Yes," said I have to cut it again.
Yeah, I remember that too.
It's not short enough. Are you kidding me?
that was some short hair.
Ari,
Tony
that was
drew
your
his.
first show at the theater too, right?
It was my first show at the theater. And I think it might've been Tony. Honestly, I can't remember now, unfortunately, who I ran into who said, you ought to think about auditioning for a show at Market House Theater. I was like, oh gosh, I could never do that. Those are legit people on the stage. And someone said, no, come on. And I remember seeing you, Tony, at auditions. And,
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I met Tammy. And
I lurked at the bottom of the stairs listening to you sing.
Yes, yeah, I remember. I'll tell you what I remember about the audition form, Michael, and I think you have this on many of the forms, when you come in and you sign your availability and all of those things. But you said on there, are you willing to cut your hair? Or are you willing to change your hair? Or something to that effect. And so every time I think about Kim, and of course I have photos of Kim, from then and of all of us together. And I think about, she must have said yes, because I could not have said yes.
A couple of exclamation points.
Yeah, that's like.
I didn't exclamation point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, this Market House Theater, if you audition, you have to think about cutting your hair, man. This is serious. So yeah, but it was my first show, and so enormously grateful that I got to be a part of it. My goodness, changed my life. That's what Market House Theater does.
Well, and we had, not only did we have incredible featured characters in the show, but the chorus for the show played so many characters. It was kind of like what was funny to me was, as I was looking back through photos, I would go, okay, well, there's Kim. She's doing her part. Oh, she's dead. Okay, well, now she's in this scene. We're seeing her with a wig. Oh, there's Josh. He's in this. Oh, Madison's in this. Oh, Adrienne's in this. Janet's in this. We just kind of jumped all over the place for people being in so many different scenes. I don't know how many costume changes we had in that show, but it felt like every time I turned around, you were all different characters again.
I had 11.
11?
Wow.
The thing that I loved about the ensemble too was, everybody, like I said, everybody was so dedicated that at every rehearsal, people paid attention and they, hit their mark, and they were really focused and all the way down the line wanted it to be the best that it could be.
The ensemble was so strong as far as vocally that several times I know that we talked about the fact that, hey, we need to back the ensemble off a little bit because they're drowning out the leads because they're all so strong.
or telling Janet and I to have fun, but don't have so much fun. Like, let's take it down just a little, just a little. I mean, I've never been told to tone it back ever, so it's really
Never, Robert. Yeah, never.
it's over my head.
Well, and I'm going to try and I think you all had more fun being prostitutes than anything else.
Well, who wouldn't want to be a prostitute? I mean, just kidding.
No one has ever played whore number 4 up to the level that Janet did.
I researched that role. So much fun in those courses.
Well, and I know we had some high school students in the cast, you know, who were playing some of the gentlemen callers who were there. And it was always kind of interesting to who I was putting together into these pairs and what I was asking them to do and trying to be aware that they were still in high school on stage.
And whether or not it was their teacher on stage.
Exactly.
Maria, how old was Maria in that?
Bother him and Mamma Mia.
Maria had finished a couple of years of college, I think, at that point. Yeah.
It was our freshman year because
After
Maria and I
freshman year?
are on the same age. And I actually drove down from Louisville on Fridays to make it to rehearsal. So for like until school got out, I would drive home on Friday nights and make it to rehearsal. And I did that like every week, pretty much until school let out.
That's awesome.
I had forgotten that. So I guess Maria was coming in from Evansville at that point. Wow.
You know, the June musical has always been one of those that college students who've gone off to school, they get out of school and then it helps us with the cast to do whatever big musical that we're doing to get those college students and all that talent back. And that you know, that was a great part of the show. As I look back at it, all of the young talent who have gone on to do so many amazing things. You know, we have a lot of the talent that all of you have who've done several things at the theater, but I always love that new and that veteran talent together working on something.
Well, that's something that we worked really hard on for casting, that we always like to try to invite new people into the community. We could have cast this show 2 or 3 times over. So, I mean, we really did try to make sure that we included new people, and we do all the time. I mean, it's not just this show, it's every show. And we are richer because of it.
J.C. Witherspoon showed up in his uniform. And J.C. couldn't be with us tonight because I think he is working in Louisville at the moment, state trooper. But his voice, you know, we had a lot of choices for that particular role for Javert, and it was kind of like he just kind of nailed it for us. And then after we got open, we had so much singing that we did. Then he started to lose his voice, you know, and it was always trying to just get through the show and try to make sure we could do what we did with that.
Well, and at the time, JC was working a double shift and he was driving in from Princeton every day. And so he would leave the show and he wouldn't get home till about midnight.
Yeah.
And then he woke up, he had to wait. He woke up at 4 a.m. and would work a double shift and get off just in time to come and do the show again.
Yeah. He actually ended up staying at my place for a couple weekends just so that he could get like 6 hours of sleep between shows. It was crazy, the schedule that he kept through that whole thing.
But he loved it. You know, that, again, that was his dream. He hadn't been on stage since he was high school.
Yeah.
And he almost went into performing arts and decided to go into the military. And so, you know, again, that he was living out his dream.
Well, and he played that role in high school production. They have a high school version of Les Mis that had been out for a while when they weren't allowing people to do the full length version. And he had played that in his high school production.
And then I remember later the sausage that Natalie has, like, had at his house. Particular performance as well.
It was
Well, the best one was when we were rehearsing that number, Joanna was supposed to sit on my lap and somebody moved the chair and I fell flat on my back. That was a lot. Who all was most of you guys were, you remember that?
I just remember the sausage and Michael being irate because he thought someone had done that on purpose. He was fit to be like gonna like all the cast is done. We're doing the show with no people going forward. He was gonna find out who did that. So we finally got him convinced that it was not on purpose, that it was an accident.
A happy accident.
Actors to tell me.
But the look on Tom's face when that happened was, oh God, absolutely priceless.
I remember that particular scene. Like, there were a lot of performances where when we went off stage, like, we were crying. We had been laughing so hard from in that scene.
Yep.
There were so many little bits that happened between Tom and Natalie. The timing on that had to be just right for people to come by, for, you know, like you to get on his lap, for Maria to be discovered underneath the table, for all of those things constantly be in motion during that scene. And I can't remember how many times we rehearsed trying to make sure that it all came out right, and then everybody parading past at the end.
And I think my favorite about that, and I've brought this up, and I will forever bring this up, is when Marie and I are underneath the table, and when she is discovered, we're just like going at it, and I'm on top of her, and it's my eyes are like perfectly in line with Cindy's, who's in the pit. There. And so it's like every night, every rehearsal, I'm just going at her daughter, and she's right there. All for the name of theater.
Robert, you really got around in this show, didn't you?
I did. I was passed around.
Robert hit eyes on every show.
You're like whore number 5, Robert.
So and whore number 5, please.
Michael gave us cues on every word. Right down here, turn left on this word, do a somersault on this word, over here, go into the drink over here. I was like, gee, Michael, you got to be kidding.
I know. Trying to make sure we had the turning.
Slap my bottom as I was turning around, and then I had to turn around and smack him.
Yep.
I didn't know him that well. All I knew was I got to smack a judge.
So
there's a scene where I was pulling the coin purse out of your dress, Victoria, and there's a picture, and I mean, it looks like the most perverted thing ever.
Favorite moment of the show. Let's start with Josh.
I would say the barricade scenes. I like the action. That was fun. Except for when Robert, hit me in the face multiple times with his rifle. I was asleep.
It's close quarters. It's close. There's a big, large, heavy gun.
Denise, what was your favorite moment?
Well, one of the backstage things that I enjoyed the most was seeing how Natalie was going to have her makeup and hair. And it was, you didn't know what to expect, and I just really enjoyed that. But just the whole thing. I was grateful when the turntable went in the right direction. But just listening to it was just so awesome.
Madison, how about you?
I can't really remember if I had a favorite moment. I mean, I loved being in the show and singing the show. It's like one of my favorite musicals of all time. But I always loved being backstage and watching the monitors and when everyone dies and Lucas is just like dangling on the barricade. And that always got me. I'm like, oh, every night.
Dean?
So, I mean, I've been watching Les Mis and a part of that show since I was in high school and sung it. So it was, and being in the show, I said I had 11 costume changes. I was constantly running. But the one thing I always remember is every night after I jumped off of the barricade as the sniper, I would have a chance to sit there and listen to Tony singing Bring Him Home as I was lying on backstage. And that was the one time in the show where I could just sit and listen. And Tony, 19 times, you just nailed it. And so I will always remember those moments of just being able to appreciate how damn good you were at singing Bring Him Home. So I will never forget all 19 times that all I was doing was sitting on my back, dead, ready to be spun around and look like I had been shot. And that will sit with me for the rest of my life.
Tony?
I still to this day never seen him sing that song because my eyes were closed for that scene. I've never seen it. All those shows, all that. Still
I
never
was
actually sing it.
Tony, I don't know if you remember, there was a little old lady sitting, maybe like on the second row one night when the music started for you to sing Bring Him Home, and she went, "Oh, this is my favorite part." That was my mother-in-law.
Oh,
that was her favorite song ever, and she loved it, and you did nail it.
oh, thank you. I would
Every
say
time.
there's so many, even just all through the rehearsals and the auditions, there's so many memories that I kind of grab onto. I'd say in the show, probably the thing that I cling on to the most was the epilogue. And it was when everybody came out and I had just gotten up and went over to hold Kim's hand. And as I turned around to walk off, and particularly the very last show, where I just kind of paused and just scanned across everybody on stage, because that would be the last time that we would be together. So I think that part, just when everybody was on stage and I just got a chance to see everybody.
In that last show too, I remember everybody was holding hands through like the whole end of the last few bars, and so like everybody's trying not to cry and like keep their notes. But yeah, that was cool.
How about you?
Me, oh gosh, I mean, it's hard for me to like. I was in 5th grade, so.
Oh my gosh, you're so young.
I'm like, all these memories that you guys are saying are like, oh yeah, that happened. I remember that now. Like, I don't remember things as clear as you guys do, but I mean, and it's hard to like compare to what he just said, like about kind of taking it all in. Just it was being a part of something so great, so monumental at that age for me. Like I wasn't used to that, I'd say my favorite part of the show, I don't know, I think it was one particular time was just when I came out for the first time, and I was just like owning the town and everything, and that's just the confidence that I was able to grow through that show was incredible. There was one time in my death scene where I was like collecting bullets and stuff and like putting them in my like satchel bag, and I'm supposed to throw it up to Robert, and there was one time that it did not it missed, and it like went up halfway down the barricade, and so I like grabbed it and like reached it up to him, and so I'll never forget that. I was like, crap, it didn't go up there. So I mean, even though it's really sad, like that scene was really.
And I know he made his mama ugly cry every time she saw that scene too.
Oh yeah.
Like wailing.
That's when I knew it was a good performance. It's like, all right, did mom cry? Okay, yes, I did good. Yeah.
Joanna?
I think for me, I really enjoyed the ABC Cafe because I was on stage, but I wasn't doing a lot during that scene. And it's one of my favorite parts of the show musically anyway. So just being on stage and being able to just observe that was really cool.
Scott?
There we go. I have no friends. No, not at all.
Yes.
One of the things,
I was just thinking
I just moved to Paducah, and so I didn't know anybody, and like 7 people in all of Paducah that I knew. And so it was neat to kind of encounter everyone, see the camaraderie at Markin House. I'd never seen that before. But my favorite moment in the show When I watched Les Mis the first time, that moment when the bishop encounters, it's just the first time you see him, it's a picture of grace. And I just remember being moved by that, and getting the opportunity to play that was really a moving experience for me.
Tom?
I mean, just every time Natalie and I were together on stage, I mean, you know, being the comic relief of something that's as serious as this was pretty darn cool, you know. And as Cindy said, it was all music until one night when Fowler punched me. I looked at Natalie and I said, "He punched me right in the face." Came out, and you know, so that was the only spoken words besides all the music in there. But you know, working, I mean, we just had so much fun. It was just, and going back there and putting on that goofy white makeup and the wigs and all that. We were sweating our asses off, but it was just such a lot of fun. So I mean, just being comic relief on a really serious show was a whole lot of cool. But I got to say that, you know, the serious song that I sang in the sewer, probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. That was such a hard piece of music. And man, I had such a hard time with that, but you know, it came out okay. And I think one night I put the pliers on Fowler's lip and damn near pulled it off when I was acting like I was pulling it too.
And that was my least favorite part of the show. And there was a second spoken word, and I think I said, "Ouch."
Tony, did I pull your lip? Is that your lip? I thought it was okay. Yeah, Tony's my bad. I got a hold of his lip with those pliers and gave it a yank. So, yeah.
That was those multiple ensemble roles where dead people were needed throughout. You know?
Yes.
Kim, how about you? What was your favorite part?
Definitely at the end when I come back to life, whatever you want to call it. That my favorite part was knowing that we were all going to come together in this redemptive song, and the feeling of everybody, because Tony and I were in the middle of the stage, and then everybody just starts coming out from the sides, and it's just like this, there was so much emotion in that song. It just, I mean, I'm pretty sure I cried every night. You know, the tears, you didn't have to act. And part of it was the beauty of the voices, the beauty of the music, and most of it was just us being together, doing this thing together. So it was unbelievably amazing every night to do that. It was so fun. I didn't want it to stop. I didn't.
You all were so consistent. Such a professional cast. Not many hijinks. I mean, it was just a very consistent performance from beginning of the run to the very end, and that was a real blessing. Everybody was fabulous.
Janet, how about you?
Oh, crap. There were so many moments. Trying to pinpoint one is really, really hard. But I think for me, maybe One Day More, when we're all together on the stage. Every time we were all together. And then I love the hope that song conveys. That was probably my all-time favorite part of the whole show. That and the finale, when we're all together again.
Robert?
Well, to kind of add a little bit onto what Dean was saying, mine was a little bit different. You know, you're working, you've got 11 costume changes, and you finally get a chance to lay down and just take a rest. I mean, you're playing dead, so you got to be as still as possible, control your breathing. And then JC I always like had the deadest eyes when I was like wide open. He was like, "You're giving me flashbacks. You got to stop that. You got to stop." And I was like, "Okay, I'll try to appear less dead or give you a wink or something like when you're walking over." And really just the drama of it all, honestly. I mean, just the show. And night after night, I mean, we all worked tirelessly and we were worn out and everybody was sweaty and smelled nasty and no one was eating right. But it's just after when you got home, it's just like, you know, when you do a good day's work and you really feel it and you really know it. I got that feeling almost every single night after leaving, even the rehearsals, the very beginning, just at table reads. Like, I just knew this was going to be great. I was singing this in the hallways the other day, and someone was like, "That's right, you were in that show." And it was just a random person kind of like walking by at the station. And I mean, I met Natalie Krapansky there, who is now the mother of my 2 children. So, I mean, theater is amazing. I mean, I consider every one of you friends, and I've now kind of made a family, literally a blood family from Market House, which I come from a really small family that is mostly a kind of a conglomeration of just friends. So it grows that kind of bond and also real familial bonds.
Emily?
So yeah, I don't really have a single favorite moment, but definitely One Day More in the finale, like, you know, Janet said too, just when we were all together. I will say something about that musical, it was therapeutic. Even though it was a super emotional musical, it was like you could just put so much emotion out there into it that when I went home, I was just like kind of like that good day's work feeling. I don't know. It was like almost therapy every time we sang together and did it. It was great. Yeah.
You know, and I think the interesting, and I'm sorry he's not here, Josh White, his musical ability from a person who sang in the car, that's all he had ever done. And when we talked about trying to learn music, he wasn't even sure what notes were. Cindy, you want to talk a little bit about that experience for Josh?
Yeah, Josh has an amazing natural instrument, as you know. He had not ever sung in a choir. He had never looked at music and been exposed to reading music at all. And so he came, and he was really quite intimidated at the beginning, just because here we were, you know, passing out music and saying measure 25, and he's just not sure what any of this is. And yet he had this voice, and he had sung in the shower, and he had sung in his choir, in his car. And so he learned all of this by rote, and yet had this natural instrument that was fabulous. My favorite, and he was so sweet. He said, "Cindy," he said, "just mold me. I'll be your clay. Just mold me." I mean, he totally had to humble himself to do this, because it was so intimidating to be with all these other people who knew how to read music, and then here he was given this lead role. But my favorite thing about Josh is that, I mean, he worked so hard. He listened to the music. He had to learn diction, learn how to pronounce vowels, learn how to put consonants on the end of words and so forth. But I will never forget, he had that big call to arms when he sings, "They will come when we call," and it ends on a high G, I believe. He could sing everything else beautifully with resonance, but that high G was hard for him, and he was cracking on it. And so I'm no voice teacher. You all know this, and I never claimed to be. And I said, "Well, why don't you try that, singing that falsetto?" And he said, "What's falsetto?" And I said, "Well, it's the light voice that men use." And he goes, "Oh, the Bee Gees voice." And I said, "Yeah, that's it, the Bee Gees voice." So he went home that night, and he came back, and he had nailed the Bee Gees voice.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, within about a day or two, he had it full voice. He figured out the placement, and he sang that. I mean, in 2 days' time, he just figured it out how to sing it full voice, and he never cracked that note in a performance. He was amazing.
His voice is amazing.
Yeah. I remember one of the first rehearsals, he started singing, and he was sitting off to the side, and I thought he was like an opera singer.
Mm-hmm.
He had that big, powerful voice, and I'm like, who is this guy? And no one knew. I'm like, how do you not know an opera singer from Paducah, Kentucky? And then someone said, no, he doesn't know how to sing or read music. I'm like, no. But he was scared. He was sitting in the corner because he didn't know what to do, but he had that amazing voice.
Yeah. Natural instrument. Just incredible. And he worked hard. I mean, he really, really worked hard to get all this, because those were hard intervals. They were hard rhythms. And he really did work at it.
Victoria, what was your favorite part of the show?
Well, of course, there was a moment at the end, and it wasn't the last show. It was one of the shows but they were all so good. I mean, they always, you just feel everything with it. So, but I turned at the end, and Fowler was right within, hand's length. And I turned a little bit to my face, and I could see he reached his hand out. We just had to hold hands. It was one of those moments. So that's as far as a moment. But during the show, during all of it, even in the rehearsals, my life was in a strange place. So I was absorbing everything from every scene, if it was fun, I was having fun. If it was sad, I was truly just absorbing it. It was a real, it was a whole different world for me. It was I agree that it was therapeutic in for many ways for me. But that moment summed up, I think, in the production of Fowler reaching out, and I grabbed his hand because he just had to do it. There was nothing else that you could do. And it wasn't the last time. That would have, I can't even talk about the last time. It just makes me, but it was a wonderful thing. And everyone was so good. I was so proud every moment. So,
Tony, how about you?
What was yours, Tony?
Well, my favorite moment?
Yeah.
It was, this was my first show on stage at Market House. I did drums for 9 to 5. And I remember the very first time we put the costumes on, I guess it was Tech, and we put the costumes on for the first time. We had the lighting going, and it was just such a rush.
Real rush
that I experienced. And I remember people were talking about the last show that we did and the very last scene. And I just remember I opened my mouth and nothing came out, when we were supposed to sing. And I was going like this because I couldn't hold it. Because it was my first show, I was lucky to be there.
The most awkward moment for me during the show was the beginning of the second act, where Emily comes out and she has a letter.
I just thought of that.
that she is supposed to give.
No, but someone was supposed to give it to me. I don't remember.
Well, yeah, she was supposed to have a letter that I intercept from her.
Yes,
and so I'm reading this letter going, "Dearest Cosette, you have entered my soul. As soon you will be gone." Well, she, as we're going out, she's like, "I don't have the letter." So she fake hands me nothing and then walks off. And so I have to sing that whole song with no letter to read. And so then I'm thinking, okay, I'll just play it off as in, if I had a letter, what would that letter say? So I'm just staring, intently out into the audience.
I remember that. That was so bad. I felt
We had, so many technical challenges with the show. I know Cindy did with Orchestra, trying to make sure that the orchestra stayed together, and at times she would just turn that down and go into piano and keep us going. We had the weekend before we opened, we had the entire lighting system went out, and I spent 48 hours under the stage rewiring the lighting system and putting in a brand new board. And I just remember that set was massive because I designed it so that it had walls that could pivot from either end. you know, and some people became really good at moving that set around and flipping those walls out and making sure that they had the different scenes that were going on. But it was a challenge. I mean, I know that when I would sit in the back and watch the show, every performance, I found myself holding my breath, just making sure, praying that everything would go right, that the orchestra, that the set, that everything would time out exactly to do that. And I was never so relieved after the final performance, just go, oh my God, we made it.
Well, can we talk about the set though, Michael, and just how genius that was?
I know. It was
Because
so
I remember, you know, as soon as I would say, hey, we're doing Les Mis at the Market House, they were like, how are you possibly going to put that show on that stage?
Yeah.
And I remember you coming in with all the renderings saying, this is what I'm thinking about doing. And we were blown away because I can't imagine any other way that show could have been done, and having those transitions that happen in seconds to be in a completely different scene. And it makes sense. You know, it doesn't feel like it's wedged in there, but it completely made sense.
You know,
so I mean, it was a brilliant design, but the guys who built that, so the name's eluding me, but I mean, the carpentry that they did to put that together was absolutely incredible. And I mean, we knew that when we started taking it apart, and we're like, oh my God, this is like fortress.
Well, you know, and to be able to assemble it and disassemble the barricade out of the pieces that were there, with all of the staircases that had to fit. And I still remember JC going up onto the very top of it. And we had quite a few people with a mattress back there to catch him as he stepped off of the back of it and fell, because in our little space, you can't fly things out.
Yeah.
So it was pretty crazy. What I thought I would do is I have some photos from the show. We would kind of wrap this up, and I'll just let these photos play, and you can all talk and comment on these photos as they go through.
I still look through these pictures all the time.
Me too.
They're so great.
The costumes were incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Grady, he was really good at being mean.
Awful. Love you, Grady, but you were awful.
Or number 4.
Or number 4.
Maria.
Thanks.
This is where we always had to tone it down a little.
Yeah.
My eyes.
You were so mean to me. That Josh Moorhead. Ugh.
He did that so well.
Yes, he did.
We worked so long on that sword fight.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, and JC was aggressive.
Sarah was there.
The floor one night.
Oh, God.
You're so perfect. Both of y'all were amazing.
You guys were awesome. Oh God, us wrestling with Tony there, we were like in a major battle every evening.
Oh, there's that hat. Look at that hat.
Aww.
Fowler with the wig.
Still has that wig.
God. Does he still have that wig?
I think he liked it.
Luke.
That is Luke. That was an awesome student ensemble. So good. Sydney?
Do you remember when we were on the barricade and Fowler kept making those faces?
Yes. Yes, I do.
He would not stop for anything.
Sydney was fantastic
She
too.
was beautiful.
She was perfect Cosette.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, Emily.
The drama.
Oh, one day more.
Yes.
That's the one I didn't get to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Oh, the blood,
Aw.
the blood
Oh,
on
that's
Fowler's
me.
hands. Oh my God. Every night getting the blood ready for Act 2 for the barricade with hair dryers and fake blood. And Oh, God, I forgot about that.
You're throwing it in there, Janet.
Oh gosh. OMG.
Captain Crunch.
Oh, Tony, dead person number 1.
I'll save you, Tony.
Call him 24601.
Were his nipples pierced?
Yeah, he did not hold back.
Joanna looking at me like, what the hell are you doing?
Awesome.
Teeth, gross.
There it is.
God.
Oh, great.
Her faces. All her
That's my baby mama,
I
y'all.
I was gonna say.
It was always amazing which teeth she was going to black out each night.
Yeah.
What direction your hair was going to be aimed in.
I will say this cast party was one of the best and most fun ever.
I remember the cops got called at my house for the cast party.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Sorry.
wasn't
Throw down.
wasn't he always signing warrants though every time we turned around?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She was so good in that scene. Oh gosh.
Aw, babies.
Yeah, I know.
They're all grown
Like
up now.
what? He's graduated from college now, or
He's
something.
like at Old Miss now.
Yeah, that's right.
Where is Grady?
I don't know where Grady is.
St. Louis.
Can I just say that one of those times I was like, ouch, Tom, that really hurt. It really got me.
Just trying to be real.
You got it real.
We all had an injury at one time or another on this show.
I still complain about back pain from this show.
You just like to complain though, so.
Mostly about you.
Yeah. You never had it so good.
I remember I had to wear knee pads most of the show.
Oh, look how little you were, Lucas. Oh.
The wigs.
The Edward Cullen
Yeah, I love them.
I love the Edward wig.
I know.
Everybody could have been in the Zoom meeting. That would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Everybody has a "could you just calm down" face right now.
She has more guy liner than I remember.
Oh, there is a lot of guy liner there. Yikes.
We were emotional.
Wait,
Some of y'all get to make a little more than others.
The set there, it's just all that just looks fantastic, and the lighting is great.
It was a work of art.
Yeah, it was.
Aww.
Oh.
I love that coat.
I know. I like that coat too.
It's very shabby chic.
I know.
Shabby chic.
Thought I was Daniel Boone for a while.
You did what?
Thought I was Daniel Boone for a while.
I still have my rosette. I think it's upstairs.
I've got
I
mine
do
somewhere.
too.
I have mine
I still
too.
have those M&Ms with
Yes.
new sister's face
Yes,
on them.
red
Cosette's
flag.
face on the M&Ms. Remember that?
Good Lord, I bet they're delicious by now.
I'm not going to eat them. I really don't know what to do with them. I'm kind of scared of them.
Right. Well, you don't want to throw them away. I'm hanging on to them.
I know. I don't want to throw them away, but I'm sure not going to eat them.
No.
Kim, I have a bookmark that you made that has like my picture on it.
Oh, there's the letter.
Yeah.
There's the letter. I got it.
Oh, Emily.
My locket. I still have my locket. So that's cool.
I really loved all of the barricade scenes. They were just so much fun.
Oh, I did too. The Barricade of Freedom.
I just remember how long it took us to set it up and to try and do it quietly to strike it during that next scene.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
It looks so cool.
You had to get all the pieces on the turntable, otherwise you were out of luck.
I forgot what a pain in the butt that was.
I had box number 2.
I was about to punch him somewhere in that one.
Looks like Mr.
What you talking about, JC? That was my face there.
I remember opening my locket one time and there was a picture of Josh White in it. I remember that.
Tony, did you bang Fowler's head on the wood when you were going down into the sewer one night?
Probably. He was a rag doll.
Oh, that's a great
I love that.
See, that's the part I'm talking about, where we all had to be asleep for the entire song. That was
we could
hard.
just sit and just enjoy his voice.
But if I could have been, off stage like Dean, that would have been fine. But I was right there and I couldn't move. That kind of sucked. Oh, look at you, Lucas. I can't believe you've graduated high school. Oh, they're all dead.
Flag hanging.
I remember
Super dead.
so many times for the flag, right?
Oh, dead Bradley.
Love that scene.
Oh, he was so mean. He did a good job.
He
was
really
super
did.
intense, super
He was,
intense.
which was the character. He
Yeah.
really embodied the character.
Exactly. Perfect.
He was really perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
I love that shawl.
Aww.
The wig I was
Aww.
That's me. That I had like strawberry blonde hair. It was fun.
Aww. Oh. You guys sounded so pretty on that song.
Yeah, we did sound good on that. We did.
Dana.
I liked all the pictures that you all took outside.
Oh, I love those too. Those turned out really good.
Yeah, those are cool.
Vintage pictures.
Yeah.
Didn't Kathy take those? Kathy McCaney?
Yes.
Those turned out so good. Oh, this always made me cry.
Oh, yeah.
This was another one, good one.
Oh, with all the people in the background, like the shadows.
Oh yeah, when
Yeah,
the
the
ghost came out.
ghosts. The ghosts.
That was so touching. Yeah,
Mm.
that was beautiful.
I've gotten chills about like 4 or 5 times during this whole call.
Aww.
I did too, but it's just alcohol withdrawal.
There's the wedding.
Fancy dresses. Another costume change. I forgot about
Oh my gosh.
I liked that dress. I didn't have to wear a corset really on that one.
that. Brown was not my color.
Oh my god.
That coat was
Wow.
that coat was the heaviest damn thing I've ever worn in my life.
You guys look so fabulous.
I know. Insane.
God damn.
Woo! Oh my God.
Oh no. That was such a transition.
I know, right? It was very anticlimactic.
Change of mood.
At least you got your hair back when you died. I mean, there's.
I still have my
There's a
candlestick,
plus.
Kim.
Yes, we all need to die as our best selves.
That moment right there. Oh.
That's it, y'all.
Aw. Yeah, Kim, I remember
best
loving
moment.
whenever you reached back and would grab my hand. I was like, aw.
Aw.
No.
It was precious. Ah.
Back to the beginning.
Well, it kind of
crazy
jumped around
win.
when I took the pictures.
Oh yeah, okay.
That thing was heavy.
I had to be heavy because you guys kept
Aw.
That was.
Mhm.
The little girls who are what, seniors this year in high school?
Yeah, I just saw Laurel got her driver's license.
Well, that kind of wraps up our cocktails with the cast of Les Mis. Let's raise a glass to when we can all get together back in person and do another show on stage.
Yes.
You're here.
You're here.
Let's pretend one.